amphibious ships, logistics support ships, and support craft. So as PEO ships, thank you, sir, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, you have the podium.
All right, greetings. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. As you mentioned, it would be great if we could do this in person. I always get a lot more out of the sidebar discussions that take place at these kind of things than some of the speaking opportunities. But and hopefully that's the case soon. And I look forward to participating with you in person. Miss Anderson, Dazen Ships, was originally scheduled to be your speaker today. She sends her regrets. And she sent the B team and me, Tom Anderson, to cover her place. Last time I talked to you, I think I was brand new in the job. I think I talked to you all within probably in the first couple of weeks that I was in the job. And when I took the job, one of the things I shared was I was going to go spend, first 3 months getting my arms around my portfolio and conducting an assessment of the kind of the state of the PEO and the way forward. So what I'd like to do for the time I have with you this morning is just share a little bit about what I learned and how that affects you and how you can help me in getting after the things that we need to do to be successful in delivering surface ships to the Navy and, as I've learned, many other customers. And if you're familiar with the PEO ships portfolio, it's no surprise to you, but we have over 30 shipbuilding programs within this PEO, over 30 programs, building surface combatants, auxiliaries, amphibs. We do quite a bit in the way of foreign military sales. We work with our partners in the Coast Guard. We work for NOAA. We work for lots of different end users. So that's been part of my journey, is getting my arms around all the folks that we support. Number one thing I'll tell you I learned as I went around, and it'll be no surprise to you, is that within our enterprise, stability is key. Stability of workload, the ability to forecast, to generate plans that people can align behind. And one of the things that I'm going to work on going forward is pulling together the data annually that informs our 30-year shipbuilding plan on what we need with regards to workload to maintain. And scale is necessary. Scale up, scale down based on the needs of the Navy, the industrial base. Some of you may have participated with Matt Evans, who works here for me, but really is an enterprise-wide resource on our ship industrial base task force, a group of folks who are helping to get our arms around the supplier base and most importantly, supplier base health. Really important as COVID hit to make sure we understood who in the supplier base was at risk in a COVID environment. But I will share with you that the things that we've learned in the dialogue that we've had since standing that task force up, it's clear that needs to be enduring. That needs to be something that continues going forward. And I encourage you, if you're working with Matt Evans and our team, to continue to do that. Transparency in that is really important. This is sharing of information so we understand where you're at with regards to capability, capacity, and health. And then where we can to find opportunities for win-wins to work on that. So with a plan in place that stabilizes the industrial base, I'll tell you the next thing that's important underneath that is schedule, schedule, and schedule. I went back and I did a post-mortem look on the last 5 years in shipbuilding to get a sense for how we were doing both in cost and schedule performance. And from a schedule performance standpoint, we have greater than 90% of our ships delivering late. And many of those ships delivering significantly late. Of course, as a guy in uniform, that's important to me because we already know we have a challenge with the number of ships we have in the operating Navy, meeting all our demand signals. The Chinese don't have that same challenge. Actually, if you've done any even open source looks on what's going on with the Chinese and their shipbuilding industrial base and the rate at which they're building, whether it's warships or whether it's their Coast Guard or whether it's their fishing fleet, just dwarfing us in capacity and moving out. So in an already challenged environment, delivering ships on time is important to the operators. But the other thing I'll share with you, it's also a missed opportunity for the folks on this call and the defense industrial base in general, right? So when ships deliver late, in-service ships stay in service. They are more costly to maintain, especially the older ships. We see a migration of budget from acquisition to in-service. We buy less. It's kind of a death spiral. The other thing I'll share with you is we put a lot of energy into discussions about backlog at shipyards. And if we're not delivering ships on the schedule that were originally envisioned, we get into a place where there's a discussion that says, hey, there's plenty of backlog. That yard doesn't need any more work. And money goes elsewhere in the defense budget. So both from an operational standpoint and from a opportunity cost standpoint, cost for performance is really key. And for the supplier base, I would share with you some of the observations are we run into schedule issues when equipment that's has a given delivery date either doesn't make it on time or it does make it on time, and then there's either technical or quality deficiencies in that material. So not only making the schedules, but making sure the equipment that's provided, the material that's provided is of solid quality, and that where there's any kind of technical risk associated with that equipment, that it's been retired early. That's something that you can do to help me and the team here to continue to buy ships, in the throughput that's needed and get them out to the fleet on time. I'll share with you, there's no shortage of internal things the Navy needs to do. As I went through my 90-day assessment, I mentioned equipment, our performance on government furnished equipment. There's plenty of opportunity there where we have a GFE that shows up late or perturbates the production schedule. So we're getting after with our partners in PEO-IWS, PEO-C4I, and the various NAVAIR related PEOs, how we do a better job getting material on time, but also how going forward we may adjust our strategies so that we move to more of a turnkey solution or a better defined space and weight, so that as technology evolves, the shipbuilding process has the flexibility to take on that new technology and not cause a significant amount of kind of production churn or change. The last thing I'll share with you on the 90-day assessment, things that came out of that is wartime readiness. And if you've listened to Secretary Gertz in any of his talks at all, coming from SOCOM, he certainly has the mindset of, ready for war at any time, practice like you plan to fight. That is not always the case or hasn't always been the case in the shipbuilding Navy portfolio. We have adopted over time, I'll share kind of a peacetime mentality with regards to buying ships. And Secretary Gertz has challenged us to think through how we might get ahead of being ready for any kind of conflict, whether that's our ability to accelerate ships out of the yard, whether that's to have the supply base expanded and have greater numbers of repairables on the shelves, whether that's expanding the shipbuilding industrial base to find yards that may have not been doing work for the Navy before, but have capacity that we might be able to leverage. Just thinking through those various things in advance before we have to utilize them. So that's what I've been up to for the time since we've talked, trying to get after where there's opportunity in the portfolio. We're doing a great job in delivering highly capable ships. If there's one soundbite I'll give you, we just need to do a better job at doing it on schedule. That's really kind of my focus amongst other things. So with that as a backdrop, I'll pause and I'll see if there's any questions or discussions, if that resonates with the group. In a normal situation, I'd look out in the audience and I'd be able to tell body language, but in this environment, that's not the case. So any comments on that or feedback or questions for me in the couple minutes that we have?
All right, thank you, Admiral. I appreciate that. As I just typed out to everybody, if you have a question, please provide it via the chat room. That'll give us some organizational component to this. So we'll try and just keep everybody on schedule there. And Admiral, you actually answered the question that I had for you, which is how does the 90-day assessment? And do you think you got enough from us, the supplier base, to really provide you with the information you need, or do you want more information? Obviously meeting with us and having a dialogue, in our past, we've always found that everybody's felt that when you get that dialogue off the record, sleeves rolled up, you'll learn a lot more than this official statements.
Yes, and I appreciate that tone. I will tell you that most of what I got during my initial 90 days was really data. It wasn't as much talking to humans and sitting down and visiting. One of the things I like to do, and as soon as we're in a position to do it, is I'm going to hit the road and start visiting many of the folks that are on the call here. I actually had Fairbanks Morrison with me yesterday, and we were talking about, hey, when this thing breaks, why don't I come on up there and we'll take a walk around and we'll talk to the troops and walk the floor. You get a lot more out of it than I do looking at the data. So I think I have enough data that tells me where the problem areas are. I'd like to have more dialogue with partners to figure out how we're going to get after it. That's really what I would like to do going forward. And whether ASSA can be a venue to have those discussions in small groups or with key members at some point, I mean, I would welcome that. I coming from the in-service side, I really got to the point with the industry teams that we could get a dozen people in a room and I could share what I was looking to get after, and they could share what their challenges were and what they were looking to get after. We could find mutual places of alignment and we could go get after it. So that part has been, for me, with the supply base lacking. I've had plenty of discussions with the shipbuilding primes, but I'd like to have a little more with the suppliers.
Oh, we appreciate that, because obviously, again, off the record sort of discussions and honest work always seems to be helpful to everybody. And again, having those direct conversations, I think, then takes us to a whole nother level of what we might understand. And of course, going to Fairbanks Morse in the winter is a real joy. I always enjoyed it because the venison is fresher. So
perfect.
It's good stuff. And again, meeting the people who actually work on these things, there's so much value in seeing the folks on the line and hearing what they have to say. So that's excellent. That's
our real competitive advantage right there, right? Is our people and making sure they're able to put in perspective the importance of what they do. It's special work, and having a military person that's able to walk the floor with them and talk to them a little bit about it, I think that it resonates well, and I look forward to doing more of that.
Exactly. Fantastic. Well, it turns out we have some questions, but through the wonder of technology, they're not showing up on my screen. So I'm going to ask Tish Williams to read those out to us, or Ann, whoever has the questions.
Well, I'm closer, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And we really only have time to take one right now because we need to move on to the next segment, but we can hold these until the end and revisit them. Let's see, from Chris Deegan from Gibbs & Cox. American ship designers possess no Jones Act protections, and we're setting offshore threats. Is there any discussion of U.S. ship designers in your industrial base analyses?
Yeah, I would tell you that, thanks for the question, Chris. And from not necessarily have I put a lot of energy into the Jones Act aspect of it, but I will share with you one of the things that we looked at was the health of our design workforce. And I'm using that in an overarching way. The Navy, whether it's government expertise, we have limited numbers of folks in the government. We've even pared down our own ability to do ship design internally. whether it's folks like Gibbs and Cox, who are experts in that area of their field, whether it's the shipbuilders who have experience within their ranks. What seems to happen is when we have a new program come along, we get all excited and we try to ramp up the design workforce to get after that program. But what I would share with you is we need to manage that just like we manage trades in the yards. We need to have an understanding holistically of what capacity that we have and what capability and capacity we're going to need to have going forward. And then we need to manage it. So a lot of my energy has been, I've stood up a position called Futures Director here in PEO Ships. And that person is not responsible for a program. They're responsible for all future programs. And they're working very closely with NAVSEA 05, the lead designer of the Navy, to make sure that we, one, have our arms around what capacity's out there, and then we're mindful of how we maintain that going forward. Hopefully that answers Chris's question.
Excellent, Admiral. It looks like that did. And we know you're time constrained. We appreciate you being here today. And as always, you have our telephone numbers. If you need to get in touch with somebody or don't have direct contact, please call us. And we look forward again to getting together in DC or somewhere else in the local area. Thank you as always for participating in our meeting today. So,
hey, thank you very much. Thank you guys. Keep up the good work that you're doing. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Admiral. Take care. So I see Captain Kevin Smith is here, so I'll go ahead and introduce him. So first thing I want to say is my expertise in earned value management is not as good as it should be. So as I go through some of the acronyms here, Captain, you'll forgive me. He is the major program manager for the ACAT IB Constellation class frigate, which is PMS 515. In the Program Executive Office of Unmanned and Small Combatants. So that's PEO USC. Prior to this, he served as the major program manager for the ACAT IC DDG 1000 program. That's in PMS 500. He also served as the military deputy program manager, major program manager, and as major program manager for the Zumwalt Integrated Combat System, IWS 9.0, and PEO IWVS. So as they say, Alex Trebek, I'd like to buy a vowel somewhere in all of that. So Captain, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing what you have to tell us.
All right, thank you, Chris. Good morning, members of the American Shipbuilding Suppliers Association. From the Washington Navy Yard. I did work for the good Admiral Anderson in PO ships. My last job at DDG 1000. I had that program for about 5 years, and now I'm working on the frigate program, which is now the Constellation class frigate program here in PO USC. So I work now for Admiral Casey Moten, all within NAVSEA. I would like to thank the association for the invitation to present and the warm welcome, Chris. What I would like to do is just give a brief overview of the frigate program. I got a few prepared remarks here, and then we'll see if you guys have any questions at the end if we have time. So I thought we'd begin with a quick snapshot of where the program stands today and how it has progressed during this challenging pandemic environment. Then I plan to address some of the ways we are leaning forward on proactively engaging and leveraging a domestic industrial base as we drive towards future milestones. As many of you know, the Navy awarded a detailed design and construction of the new guided missile frigate class of ships on 30 April 2020 of this year to Fincantieri Marinette Marine. Since the award, detailed design of the ship class is on schedule, and we are on track to complete ship design in the fall of 2021. The initial delivery of the Fincantieri build specification was this past July, and the next drop is on schedule to be delivered at the end of this month, December, where we will proceed with reading sessions and get that approved by NAVSEA 05. The Navy is working closely with Fincantieri on progressing towards planned build specification approval. So that's one of our primary objectives here in the front end. In related news to our award, in October, SecNav announced that the USS Constellation FSG-62 as the name of the first ship in the new guided missile frigate class. And just last week, he announced the name of the second ship in the class FFG 63 as the USS Congress. Also in October, our program successfully completed its initial integrated baseline review, which was a program milestone after contract award. The next major milestone are the critical design review and the production readiness review. These milestones will occur in late FY21, and our lead ship, FFG 62, the Constellation, is planned to begin construction in early FY22. Now, while Fincantieri continues with their detailed design, they are also making major capital improvements to upgrade infrastructure and expand capacity for both the Marinette and Sturgeon Bay shipyards, which I visited myself recently within the last 60 days. The improvements in Marinette include installing a synchrolift, which will be the first demonstrated on a Saudi multi-mission service combatant, a new preparation and blast and paint facility, a grand module construction facility, and a new final hull erection and outfitting facility. The improvements over at Fincantieri Bay Shipbuilding over in Sturgeon Bay include adding a steel processing and fabrication facility for naval vessels and a module and supermodule tandem construction and hull erection facility. So I am pleased to say that the Fincantieri is in alignment with our program schedule, is on track to have these upgrades completed in time to support the planned frigate construction activity. When I visited myself, I saw all those activities happening, and they've broken ground on many of those improvements today. As detailed design is progressing, I want to stress that the Navy is committed to fostering a healthy and efficient shipbuilding industrial base. Our shipbuilding and supporting vendor base constitutes a national security imperative that is unique and must be maintained. Therefore, the FFG 62 baseline was selected to meet its stringent cost and technical performance requirements established for the FFG 62 ship design, while being in compliance with the contractual requirements for United States manufactured components. So upon contract award of the lead ship, it contained greater than 96% US content by value. This included main reduction gears, gas turbines, high voltage switchboards, and a fixed pitch propellers. Most recently, a US manufactured auxiliary propulsion unit was selected to be a part of that baseline. Now, since contract award, the program is on a path to transition to a fully US sourced ship, beginning with Ship 1, the Constellation. Fincantieri and their vendors are transitioning to US production on Ship 1 by developing the US workforce and bringing ship service diesel generators and electric propulsion motors production to various states by Ship 2. The bearings, shafts, and seals will be 100% US manufactured, starting with Ship 1. Now, this transition will bring over 200 new jobs across multiple states nationwide. The Navy supports this transition early in the program so that the baseline design and manufacturing vendor base start with a common class configuration while reducing execution risk. The Constellation class frigate program reflects the Navy's commitment to the shipbuilding industrial base. Now, one thing I will ask of the industrial base is that even though a domestic sourcing is important and a goal of the Navy, there is a balance that must be maintained between cost and meeting our technical requirements. The Navy will maintain rigor on evaluating costs and will foster and pursue competition wherever possible. I will be the first to admit that our shipbuilding industrial base faces an unprecedented set of challenges. A global pandemic, the decline of critical markets in manufacturing, and the loss of vital trade skills in a domestic workforce. We must collectively work through these obstacles. The innovation, expertise, and quality in our domestic defense supply chains is the backbone of national security. And as we continue to move forward in the Constellation class frigate program, we do it knowing that our success and schedules are dependent upon that partnership. So in closing, I thank you all for your time. I know you are all very busy as well, and I wish you all the best and good health to you and your families throughout the holiday season. And those are the comments I had as far as update on the frigate program. So Chris, over to you for any questions. Over.
Okay, thank you, Captain. I appreciate that. And that's good news on things that are going to the American industrial base. So excellent, excellent. We do have a few questions for you. I'll read off one of the first ones. And of course, you talked about the schedule challenges and the accelerated schedule and what we're going to do here for the first class platforms. So I appreciate that. There is in the program of record right now a call for 20 platforms for the FFG 62. but the Battle Force 2045 addresses the need for 60 to 7 small combatants, primarily of the FFG 62 class. Do you think, how is that change in the acquisition strategy going to affect you, and what do you anticipate that we need to do to support that?
Thank you, Chris. There has been a lot of studies ongoing across Navy and Defense in this area. What I'll tell you is my PB21 procurement profile is 20 ships. So there's a lot of discussions about what could happen in the acquisition strategy, how it could change. Right now, it's all pre-decisional. So right now, as I said, my procurement profile is 20 ships. That being said, you know, the investments that are being made into our domestic defense supply chains and the workforce will give us the flexibility, I feel, to absorb any changes and deliver the required number of ships. Our partners at Fincantieri, this is a challenge for them, obviously, you know, getting up as a first-time prime, but they are all in and working with the industrial base here. So I feel confident that if it does come to pass that we are going to have to go build more ships, which is a very exciting prospect, we will be ready and work with the Suppliers Association and other players. Over.
All right, thank you, sir. We do have another question from Carl Fisher of Thrustmaster. Again, it doesn't show up on my screen, so I'll turn it over to either Ann or Carl to go ahead and present you with that question.
Okay, I just changed the chat settings, so hopefully on everyone's end, everyone will be able to submit questions publicly now, and I apologize for that. But going back to Carl's question, can you give us an update on the Navy's plan to build a land-based engineering site for the FFG 62 class?
Another great question. I took over this job in October from Dr. Regan Campbell. She was a program manager, and they went through Milestone B, as you know, in the spring, and then went to contract award in April of 20. It was deemed, since we were using obviously parent design, but also non-developmental type machinery, engineering control and such, that it wasn't required for land-based engineering test facility. But there's a lot of debate on this right now. I think you saw some of the language that was proposed in NDAA just recently. So we are looking at options right now as far as what we can do to continue to reduce risk on our engineering, our power and propulsion plant. So more to follow on that, but right now, again, pre-decisional, but I'll say that the Navy is taking a hard look at that, and more to follow. Over.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other questions from the floor? Okay, doesn't look like we have anything else. So excellent, Captain. We appreciate your time. Thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to actually sitting around the table, enjoying some coffee with you, and again, having that sleeves rolled up conversation with you as we go forward.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Excellent. So we're going to have a slight change in the schedule, and we're going to move Admiral Schofield up. Admiral, if you're ready, otherwise we could do some other things. I don't want to have this sudden surprise to you.
I'm ready to go, Chris. Can you hear me?
All right, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir. Again, this way we get you on the schedule and get going. So it's my honor to introduce Admiral Schofield. The Coast Guard's here, and that's always a good thing. So we were, last year we had you here when we were in DC, so welcome back, and thank you again for joining us. For everybody's information, Admiral Schofield is the Director of Acquisition Programs and Program Executive Officer for the United States Coast Guard. His duties include management oversight of all Coast Guard acquisition, all those programs and projects for the modernization and recapitalization of surface, air, command and control, and logistics assets in support of the Coast Guard's multiple maritime mission. It's obviously a lot on your plate, Admiral. So without further ado, Admiral, you have the floor. Thank you again.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining us. No doubt it's a little bit more challenging. I'm with our last two presenters, and with Tom saying specifically, it is better to sit down with you and have a cup of coffee and sit down and chat. So hopefully we can do that in the new year. I think we're all looking forward to that. But I will say first off to the group at large, thank you very much for being great partners with us directly and then indirectly through our shipbuilding partners to really work through this pandemic and be agile in delivering the materials and systems and services that we need to continue to build and modernize our Coast Guard as well as our nation's fleet out there, Navy Coast Guard as a whole. Very important. And I appreciate that. And I know the team has been very flexible as a whole out there with the whole supplier association. So thank you. I know that we'll be continuing to work through that here into the coming year, but thanks again. So I think, Tish, I think we should have forwarded a slide deck. Not sure if that's up there. So if it isn't, if you can't present it, I could just talk through kind of what my talking points.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Admiral. I did not see the slide deck come through.
All good, Tish. That's okay. Not a big. It's just good pictures, so I can walk through that. So what I was going to do is just talk about a few of our current contracts under contract, our current contracts that are in place, and then a couple future, and talk a little bit about our research and development efforts moving ahead there as well. First is our offshore patrol cutter program, which is our largest program. The lead cutter is in production. We hit a few key milestones since I last talked to you. We had a keel authentication or keel laying back in April via virtual ceremony, which actually worked out well that way. The OPC #2 production contract mod was completed, and that has started, as well as the long lead time for OPC 3 is under contract as well there. We are actively working right now and on a full and open recompete for hulls 5 and beyond. We call that our stage 2. We are tracking for RFP release by the end of January 2021. And I know a lot of you have been participating in our request for proposal comment periods, and I appreciate that. We have a lot of robust comments overall, and I appreciate those efforts. Second major program, Polar Security Cutter. We are certainly making strides towards production. We're in design phase, like the frigate is, and we are excited as we work towards that, working towards initial and final contract design and production readiness review in this coming year. We just recently completed maneuver model testing in Finland with their ice testing basin, which is the largest in the world for this type of testing, as well as propeller testing here is ongoing in December. And the shipyard itself is expanding, particularly because of the size and weight of the Polar Security Cutter as an icebreaker, doing some upgrades there to be able to successfully launch a heavy ship per hull length to continue there. So that's moving on schedule. And we're excited to get the lead cutter by 2024. So that program's continuing. A couple new programs that are upcoming that many of you have seen is our Waterways Commerce Cutter. These are aged, very aged, 50-plus-year-old cutters that work our inland river buoy tending operations as well as construction tending. And a great fleet of cutters. It's 35 cutters now. Our current program is looking to recapitalize 16 river buoy tenders and 11 inland construction tenders with a more common approach under one contract for commonality, although there'll be slightly different working decks on each ship. But we hope to have similar propulsion and berthing and common systems on both of those two classes of ships under contract. We're working under a program schedule to reach our initial operating capability by 2025. And we are looking to get that request for proposal out here in the next fiscal quarter of this fiscal year. So we're excited there. And we received lots of comments from industry, including all of you. And I really appreciate that, because that really will make our request for proposal better downstream for a very small and fleet, but mighty fleet that does a unique Coast Guard missions on our inland rivers, as well as our coastal waterways, and in real shallow water in unique circumstances. So certainly appreciate that. Also, we have our over the horizon boat, which is really our core mission boat that rides on our patrol boats and larger across our fleet. We have the OTH-4 is in contract now, and we're working towards, we released a request for proposal in August, and we're tracking for an award in the second quarter of fiscal year 21 for that next over the horizon boat to be able to service our legacy as well as our new platforms out there. This will be a great boat. Looking forward to it. It's really a two-phase acquisition. We're looking at first phase for down select up to 4 individual contracts to build a prototype boat, and then do evaluations on those with a demonstration, and then down select to the final provider. So we're really excited there. This really is our primary boat for the majority of our offshore fleet, and very, very important to our mission success. So looking forward to that partnership moving ahead there. And then last, talk a little bit about some things that we're really looking at in the research and development side. Many of you may have seen some of the information that we recently did some testing out in Great Hawaii for some unmanned boats and systems. And this is all about the Coast Guard really embarking ways to enhance our maritime domain awareness across our mission set. So can we really provide a better capability or enhance our overall ship capability in a large ocean environment? Can we enhance that with unmanned vessels? And we've been partnering both with DHS and the Navy on a lot of these initiatives, but we did tests on both an unmanned drone, real autonomous vessel. It's actually a sail, real slow speed, but is self-powered and can provide information on contacts, etc. And we also had a small boat that was autonomous as well, up to 30 days at sea, providing information there. And then lastly, we tested one of our 29-foot response boats with a remote operated control system while we had folks on board to understand the complexities of that type of system. And we worked that boat in those same areas and working that maritime domain awareness picture with that boat operated from afar, from across the United States. So we're really excited with that. We're learning a lot. We're learning a lot that it is likely going to take us multiple types of vessels to really help us enhance our maritime domain awareness in the future. And there's great capabilities out there. We're excited about that with all of you. There's a lot of work to be done for us continuing this effort, but just wanted to give you a snapshot there. That's out in the press side. Hopefully you've seen some of those articles, but it was exciting for us to be able to do that, and we're moving ahead with continuing to work those efforts moving ahead. So with that, I will open it up for questions, Chris, if there are any questions from the group. Over.
Great, Emerald, thank you. I appreciate that. And whenever I see the Coast Guard going out of our inlet here in a nor'easter when everybody else should be tucked in their beds, I think, God bless those kids. I say kids. God bless those young men and women who are heading out when everybody else is heading in to go ahead and save somebody's life. So kudos to them. I'm always impressed with how aggressive and how strong they are in their efforts. So we do have a question here that kind of goes around what you've already talked about, but in the FY21 legislation that's being drafted right now, it will require a dramatic increase in the use of domestic supply chain for future Navy ships. And as Captain Smith just talked about, they're doing a lot of effort now to actually accomplish all of that. What actions is the Coast Guard taking to increase the use of domestic shipbuilding suppliers for the Coast Guard ships? And again, particularly within the WCC and the OPC. I know you've touched on it, but do you have any more specifics to add to that?
Well, Chris, thanks for that. We continue to work with legislators and others as we continue here. We do follow our current laws, and we'll continue to do that, of course, the Buy American Act, and continue to do that across all suppliers. That's obviously very important there. But also, as we look at some of the logistics requirements in our contracts, even just using the Buy American Act, logistics across other assets and commonality in those systems often helps industry find common systems that are more locally procured, can help support future builds overall in the design effort. So we think that helps as well that way. But we certainly will continue to follow what Congress would like us to do. Our big piece, particularly with our smaller shipyards and ship supply vendors, is we want to really get the best value for the taxpayer and continue to work that, and if really work with those shipbuilders to vet out what's their best supply chain efforts that they've used both in commercial as well as Coast Guard and other government builds moving ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. One of the questions, as we talked about the unmanned systems that you're working on, how is the Coast Guard coordinating with the Navy on a lot of these unmanned issues?
Yes, so we certainly, like we do across our entire maritime air and logistics fleets, we look towards partnering with the Navy to learn from their technology development as well as ours. We really work hard on more state of the market efforts. So and some of these efforts that we're seeing recently are more state of the market type systems that are out there that we've worked and partnered with both DHS and Navy partners for that technology readiness review and what systems are out there from a market and sharing that technology efforts there with the Navy PEO team working on manned systems. We do meet with them as well as share those lessons learned, both in R&D as well as the ship construction efforts. So that's robust, and I can tell you, Tom and I work really hand in hand. Our Polish security cutter is a joint office, and truly joint. It's made up of both Coast Guard and Navy members, and it's been working out really well. And we are also partnering on logistics efforts moving ahead. And even in the electronic health records, we're working with DoD as a whole, Navy, and all our services on that to actually for the Coast Guard to have a common electronic health record system with our sister defense services. So very, very important there. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, and thank you to Tom Dissy from Northrop Grumman Corporation for that question. I'm sure he'd love to have you down to Annapolis to see their facility there. Our next question comes from Andre Rivas, and he says, will the Coast Guard expand NTNO cooperation with the Navy to outfit new platforms?
Yes, the quick answer is yes. So our offshore patrol cutter and Polish security cutter both have great expansion in Navy-type, Navy-owned systems, more than even our national security cutter efforts there. So that continues. Our interoperability and using common systems is more relevant now than it's ever been. So that Navy-type, Navy-owned system portfolio is expanding rapidly with the offshore patrol cutter to start, and then the Polish security cutter to follow, which is a great partnership there with those common systems, and really getting after our true interoperability particularly in the defense side moving ahead. So I'm very excited about that because that partnership is alive, well, and is better than it's ever been. So I'm very excited there.
I'll unmute. Now you actually can hear what I'm saying. There are a lot of people who would like to have me muted permanently, but that's all another story. So good. I don't see any other questions. If anybody else has anything right now.
Oh, there is one on deck I'm seeing from Tom Dissy with Northrop Grumman. Is the U.S. Coast Guard working with the U.S. Navy on the unmanned initiative?
Actually, we just asked that question.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
That's all right. I don't know if you have anything else to answer.
No, nope. We're hand in hand. We talk all the time across all our platforms, unmanned and manned. So exciting, and even air. So just as important, air and C5I domains as well.
And obviously, this weekend here, you'll be working with the Navy to go ahead and help beat Army. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I see that pin, and we'll see how that goes, Chris, for you. So
Exactly. Wish us all best of luck. All right. Well, let's see. I think that's it then. So, Admiral, I appreciate you attending today. This is fantastic, and thanks for attending the entire meeting. So we consider you a firm member of the organization. So thank you again for always being here. Captain Smith, thank you for being here and attending the entire meeting. That's fantastic. So what we're going to do now is a little bit of in-house. So we have George Williams, our CEO, is going to give us an update on what's going on within the organization, some of the efforts that are going on the Hill. And Admiral and Captain, you might want to stick around to hear what we're doing here on the Hill. If you're interested, you're more than welcome to stay. That's up to you. So with that, George, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that introduction. I do want to just give the members an update of where we've been in 2020 and where we're headed in 2021. Of course, most of you know about the dilemma of having to go to virtual meetings and losing our capability of having the face-to-face because of the COVID. But we had our December meeting, we forged a plan to concentrate more on Congress as they were deliberating the NDAA and the appropriations portion of their work. And of course, we've got a number of people that have joined our government relations team, and they're in attendance today. And I want to express our appreciation for the hard work that's done on the Hill by Kayleen and Julianne, Paul Roden, Carl Fisher, and a number of others from our association. Our goal was to advocate the position of the Buy American statutes. And of course, we know that we did have some changes in the Buy American Act. And we had some concerns with the Navy about 355 ship fleet in light of discussions on decommissioning of a number of ships. And we wanted to learn more about the way the congressional budget was supporting the Navy. We also wanted to have them address the distribution of supplier-based funds to major shipyards to improve the supplier base. From that trip, the government relations team, as I mentioned, was formed, and we had a number of virtual calls, virtual meetings during the fall and winter activities of Congress. We really appreciate the support that we've gotten from Joe Becker at Thrustmaster, Mark Steiner at Kitco, Kayleen Green with Flagship Government Relations, and Fairbanks Morris through Paul Roden's support. We've tried to reformulate our meeting schedule from the original plan of 2020, and we appreciate the deep support that we've had from Navy in providing us with the speakers that we've had. We met with Admiral Galinas of NAVSEA, Admiral Tom Anderson. We had him here for the second time this morning. We met earlier with Matt Sermon. We've been working closely with Matt Evans and his group. And in July, we participated in an assessment meeting with Andrew Jaffke, procurement manager for DDG 51 class program, office to assist Admiral Anderson. And you heard the report from Admiral Anderson on the outcome of his Jaffke's work. But all in all, we've had some very successful meetings, even though they were virtual. In August, we held a board meeting to make plans for the remainder of the year. And at that time, we made a decision to hold the annual Annapolis offsite as a virtual 2-day meeting. During the meeting, we had congressional updates on the NDAA to increase the Buy American requirements on major defense programs. Senator Tammy Baldwin made a nice presentation on the amendments to the Buy American Act that she was proposing in her bill. And we also had an update from the Navy on strengthening the U.S. Defense Maritime Industrial Base with Admiral Papano, Brian Clark, Ron O'Rourke, and Eric Labs. During that meeting, we presented the Founders Award to ASSA's former CEO, Laura Haas Knox, for her contributions to our industry. Carl surprised her with a presentation. Throughout the year, we sent multiple press releases and position papers to members of Congress and the media, including the Acquisition Reform Working Group, offering our position on Buy American. In 2021, we believe that the first part of the year will continue to require us to meet virtually, but it will not stop us from achieving our goals. In 2021, our DC fly-in will need to be virtual meetings with members of Congress, and we will continue to hold our meetings virtually until travel and face-to-face meetings can be restored safely. I want to outline the major success of our work this last year, and what we will be focusing on this next year is the growth in our membership. We're very pleased to welcome new members today, and that's what it's going to take for us to win the fight. We need strength in numbers. We need more and more companies like Lister Chain and Laser Photonics to step up and join us. We continue to advocate for our position. We certainly, we want to welcome Justin Ziegler and Michael Stobart. I think you're both in attendance today. We want to welcome you and to ASSA. Your companies have displayed strong interest, and I believe that you're going to join. And if you have any additional members that you know that might benefit from being a participant with us, we would welcome you to ask them to participate and join the association. Our biggest success, I believe, has been, pardon me, in the exposure that we've gotten through the media. We recently had an op-ed in Defense News that explained our position against some of those who have questioned the value of the Buy American Act. It's not a program that's designed to support earmarks. It's a program designed to advocate for the domestic industrial base and to see that that industrial base is incorporated into the work of the Navy. I want to go ahead and introduce Kayleen, if you would. Kayleen, give us an update of the hard work that you all have been doing on the Hill and where we stand with the conference report at this time.
All right, thank you, George. Members, I think, will recall that there were two initiatives in the NDAA, the Defense Authorization Bill. One that Congressman Garamendi had proposed that was accepted as an amendment, and that would have taken the components that had been included in the National Defense Sealift Fund for the last almost 30 years and required that those components be inserted into the NTIB to be applicable to all auxiliary ships. The conferees accepted that partially, and they have applied those requirements to the TAO class of ships. And I think that's something that we probably want to try to continue working on to expand that further. The other issue was the amendment that Congressman Norcross had offered, and his amendment would have applied to all major defense acquisition programs and would have required a gradual increase in domestic content, starting with 75% this year and then going up to 100% by FY26. Understandably, because that affected every single major defense acquisition program, there was a lot of interest in that, going well beyond shipbuilding suppliers, certainly. And in the end, I think there was a great deal of concern on what the impact would be on some programs that had some foreign allies participating. So the conferees inserted some language that requires DoD to take a closer look at the overall supply chain for all major defense acquisition programs, and to try to ensure that there is transparency in the supply chain and security to the extent that components in the second, third, fourth tier down in the supplier community might not be very obvious on where they come from. So I hope that the ASSA would have an opportunity to work with DoD in ensuring that analysis takes into consideration the situation that American shipbuilding suppliers find themselves in many times. And I think Captain Smith and Admiral Schofield, I think you all are well aware that one of the concerns of ASSA is that shipyards have protection under various laws that require that all ships have to be built here, but that doesn't apply to the suppliers if they are supplying directly to the shipyards. So that's something that the association has been trying to develop some visibility on, and I think that there will be additional opportunities to have those discussions, and we really appreciate the fact that you have been working with the suppliers to understand their concerns. I think that's it, George.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Chris, I'll turn it back over to you to move on the agenda and stay on schedule.
Excellent, George. Thank you very much. I do want to open the floor to questions for George or Kayleen, including from our guests. So does anyone have any questions for them? Okay, you could either put it in the chat room or raise your hands, whatever you feel is good. Okay, I don't see anything popping up right now, but as always, thank you for your effort, George, Kayleen. We really appreciate what you're doing for us, getting our voice out there. That's one of the more important things we could do. So with that, we're getting up here at 1100. I want to thank our esteemed speakers for meeting with us today. It's been a highly informative session, and I thank you for that. The American Shipbuilding Suppliers Association was founded in 2011 to provide a voice to the shipbuilding industrial base. So since that time, ASSA has advocated on behalf of our members for maintaining a strong domestic supplier base and reducing the utilization of foreign suppliers. We've continued to address the concerns of our members, including the implementation of welding standards across the shipyards, get Navy support for maintaining cybersecurity standards for small business, and continue to have a stable shipbuilding acquisition plans to allow our suppliers to plan and budget for their growth and maintain their financial growth and viability. We've enjoyed tremendous support from the Navy and the Coast Guard, key members of Congress, and especially our corporate members since our founding. I've been on board since 2013 and have been amazed at the work that's being done by all of our members and by our staff. So I want to thank you. Today, we're continue to be recognized as a voice in the U.S. government for shipbuilding policy, which is exactly what we hope to do. That's one of our main objectives. And we continue to work with everybody to maintain that position and continue to move the needle forward on the American shipbuilding supplier base. So on behalf of ASSA, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here today. Of course, the phone's ringing in my office to find out if my Medicare is well funded. So I apologize for that. We look forward to a productive 2021 with your support. And thanks again to our member sponsors, Thrustmaster of Texas and L3 Harris, for a great meeting. I would also like to thank and wish everyone a happy holiday season. We started Hanukkah today and Christmas is right around the corner. So our best to everyone there. We look forward to joining us in 2021. The prospects look good for us actually being able to meet in person at some point next year. So let's go ahead and do that. Or let's look forward to that. So with that, I don't have time for rebuttal on my last statement, which is go Army, but I stand the meeting adjourned.
Go Army beat Navy.
Hey,
I said we
Chris,
had no time for rebuttal.
I have one announcement, if you don't mind, before we close out the meeting. Tish Williams with ASSA staff. Just want to thank all of you for everything you've done throughout the year to support our efforts. And also, I would like to wish our former CEO, Laura Haas-Knox, a happy birthday. Today is her birthday, and it's just another great way to end our year. Thank you all.
Thank you. And guess what? I am only 23 when you'll all
That's it.
met me. Thanks, y'all.
Well done.
Great
Thank you,
job,
Tish.
Tish and George Williams. Great job. Y'all have a great day. Thank you.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Be safe.
See you at the game.
Happy birthday, Laura.
Thank you.
Wear a mask.
Oh, I will.